The Senate Judiciary Committee delayed by at least a week a vote on President Trump's nomination of Senator Jeff Sessions to be Attorney General. The delay was requested by Democrats on the committee after receiving 188 pages from Senator Sessions in response to questions from committee members.
Good morning and welcome to the first markup of the 115th Congress. I would again welcome Senator Feinstein as our new ranking member, even though she's been a member of this committee for a long time. We recognize Senator Sass, and Crapo's not here now, but he's a new member, and Senator Kennedy. And of course, we welcome back, and she's not here right now, but I want Senator Hirono to know that she's welcome back to this committee. It's an honor for our committee to be entrusted with so many policy areas under our jurisdiction, ranging from sexual assault survivors' rights to issues of national security. And we accomplished good things in the 114th Congress. We held 99 hearings. We reported 30 bills, every one of them bipartisan, and 24 of the 30 were passed by the Senate, and 17 of them became law. Among the major bipartisan statutes reported by our committee were the Comprehensive Addiction and Recovery, the Defend Trade Secrets, the Justice for Victims of Trafficking, the Justice Against Sponsors of Terrorism, and during last year's markup of the Adam Walsh reauthorization, we had added a Sexual Assault Survivors Bill of Rights, which the House later passed with some minor changes, and the President signed. These legislative successes are the product of hard work and dedication of committee members, as I said, both sides of the aisle, because everyone was bipartisan. There are a number of bipartisan measures that our committee reported that remain unfinished business for the 115th Congress, which remain priorities for me, and I look forward to working with members of both sides to finish this important work. And I've had a discussion with Senator Durbin on the point of criminal justice reform. Turning to our agenda today, Senator Sessions' nomination to serve as Attorney General is on the agenda for the first time, and I've been told that people on the Democratic side of the aisle, including the ranking member, are requesting that his nomination will be held over for a week, and of course that will be done. I want to inform members that by committee rule, any member can hold over the nomination. So, of course, we honor that request. And I note for the record that we have a quorum now, more than a quorum now, so that will be held over for the 1 week under our rule that you have to have a quorum present to do that. I look forward to reporting his nomination out of committee next week. There will be plenty of time to debate his nomination next week, and I just want to note that we held a full and fair hearing for Senator Sessions 2 weeks ago. It started at 9:30, went till 8 into the evening so that everyone had ample time to ask questions. And I want to say that I hope I said at the hearing, I appreciated everybody's cooperation during that period of time. We allowed more time for members to submit questions for the record than the committee did for Attorney General Holder. Members submitted those questions, and we've received Senator Sessions' answers. Next, we have some organizational business to attend to, as this is our first committee business meeting of the year. Before we take actions on that, I wanted to explain what it was, and then we will hear from the ranking member. Our staffs are still working on committee rules for this Congress, so we'll turn to those hopefully next week. This committee this week will approve an authorizing resolution for our committee funding. Senator Feinstein and I have already agreed on that funding resolution or authorizing resolution. Finally, we'll adopt subcommittees and memberships today. The subcommittees will be the same 6 subcommittees that we had in the last Congress. These have been circulated, and so now with that introduction and remarks on my part, I turn to Senator Feinstein.
Thank you very much. It doesn't seem to work.
Yeah, well, no, I bet I turned it off. I'm sorry.
Hello?
Yeah.
Yes, thank you. Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. And as I've said to you before, I very much look forward to working with you. As you know, we've worked together on the drug caucus for some years now, and I look forward to having the kind of relationship that if there's a problem, I can bring it to you and we can get it settled.
And vice versa.
Thank you. And I want to pay tribute to my good friend, and he is a good friend, and in a sense, in a real sense, a mentor, Senator Leahy. Senator Leahy has been on this committee for a long time, a little bit longer than I have, and I found him to be a mentor and stalwart and stand-up, and I hope some of those characteristics, in a modest way, fell over on me. So as the rules, Mr. Chairman, of the committee allow, and as we have done for most nominees during the last several Congresses, I'm asking that the vote for Senator Sessions be held over until next week. And I'd like to take a few moments to explain why. The Attorney General, as we all know, is charged with enforcing our laws and Constitution. He must be vigilant, fair, and even-handed. The Department of Justice must be out front and strong. It must protect the rights of women and minorities. It must protect voting rights and all of our constitutional rights. This nomination is a very big deal. On Sunday, we received 188 pages of responses to questions submitted for the record following the Sessions hearing. Our staff needs time to go through these answers, and we need time to put them in context with what we know and what we've learned about Senator Sessions' record. In addition, we've been told that some members may have follow-up questions they would like to submit. And I also believe it's important to reflect on this nomination in light of the demonstration we saw this weekend. What we saw in my quarter of a century on this committee was very unusual. On Saturday, there was a massive outpouring of hope and optimism. At least 500,000 people gathered in Washington. Some say as many as 800,000. In Los Angeles, estimates were 750,000 people marching together, the largest demonstration in the last decade. It was really unusual to see the diversity. Men and women came together. Families came. College students came. Young children came. There were marches in blue states and red states, from Alaska to Mississippi and from South Dakota to Hawaii. In fact, there were marches all around the world, from Kenya to Milan and Auckland to Mexico City. Millions are estimated to have gathered. I thought it was very unusual to see such large crowds and such sheer joy. No violence. In fact, to the best of my knowledge, there were no arrests. And it's unusual to see this kind of dedication to the principles and values of this nation. Hundreds of thousands of passionate individuals went to the streets to support women's fundamental rights as well as equality for all. On Saturday night, I happened to run in with some of the delegations. They were from Los Angeles, Colorado, Arizona, Connecticut, and elsewhere. They just glowed. They shared an elation and commitment that actually I have never seen before. It was really palpable. There's no other way to say it. They want to have their voices heard. They want to ensure equality for all. And they want to know what steps they can take to fully participate in what they see as the crowning glories of America. Our country's principles and values derive from our Constitution and laws. They are ensuring equal rights for all, upholding voting rights for all, demanding equal pay for equal work, maintaining workers' rights, and protecting our environment. It is these principles, these values, that the Attorney General must defend. He must be a zealous advocate for the American people, all of the American people. The one question that several marchers asked me was, what can I do? I told them they need to get out there, make their voices heard, call your members, state legislators and local officials, organize, run for office, play a direct role in governance. Don't wait for someone else to do it. Now, let me talk about the women who were the majority in these marches. We have had to fight for everything we have won throughout history. Nothing has been easy. It wasn't until 1920, not even 100 years ago, but more than 130 years after the Constitution was ratified, that women received the right to vote. Women originally in this country could not own or inherit property. Women were often forbidden from getting an education. Women weren't allowed to borrow money from a bank without their husbands co-signing the loan. Not to mention, it wasn't until 1965, barely 50 years ago, when states could no longer ban married women from using contraception. And it wasn't until 1972 that this fundamental right was extended to all women in 2 Supreme Court cases. In fact, just looking at the history of this committee is incredibly telling. Since its inception, there have only been 5 women to serve on the Judiciary Committee and 350 men. Today, 2 of those women, in addition to myself, are here. Senator Klobuchar from the great state of Minnesota, Senator Hirono from Hawaii, and this is the most women that have ever been on this committee. So our history in this march and in what we're going to do on the Attorney General is really very important. We still do not have equal pay for equal work. Studies vary, but we know women are paid only roughly 75 to 80 cents on the dollar. A simple Equal Rights Amendment passed the Congress in 1972, was ratified by 35 states, but fell short of becoming part of the Constitution by just 3 states. And here's what it said: equality under the law shall not be abridged on account of sex. Why? Women were serving different criminal sentences than men in many states. And so it goes on and on. And of course, a woman's right to have control over her own body, her own reproductive system, continues to be under attack. Not only are new restrictions put in place to limit women's access to reproductive health care services, but outright bans are being passed across the country. As I mentioned, women's history has played out on this committee. I was elected to the Senate in 1992. It was known as the Year of the Woman. Some of my younger colleagues may not know the full context of that election, but for me, the Anita Hill hearings in 1991 are etched in my memory. I remember a Senate Judiciary Committee. As a matter of fact, I was watching the hearing from the airport in London, and I looked at the committee as it was panned, and there was not a single woman. I remember how they questioned her claims of workplace harassment. I remember thinking how a woman would never belittle someone who was brave enough to step forward and testify like Anita Hill did. It was a shameful episode in the Senate, and I think it helped the Year of the Woman and getting women elected. It certainly played a role in Joe Biden inviting me to be the first woman on the Senate Judiciary Committee. That was nearly 25 years ago. Carol Moseley Braun joined me on the committee soon after I did, and today we have the three of us. It's a start, but it isn't a finish. We are charged with overseeing our constitutional rights, our federal laws, our nominees to the federal courts, and our nominees to the Department of Justice. Mr. Chairman, once again, we are being asked to evaluate the nomination of our next Attorney General, who is charged with enforcing the law and upholding the protections women have fought so hard to secure. This nomination is critically important. This committee must have enough time to fully consider Senator Sessions' record, to evaluate his answers to our questions, and to determine what kind of Attorney General he will be if confirmed. Many, many millions of Americans are deeply concerned about what the future will bring. That's a hallmark of what happened this past Saturday in the march. The least we can do is tell them that we're being as careful as possible in who we place in charge of making these important decisions. For every woman and man who marched over the weekend, we owe it to them. Thank you very much. Well,
I'm going to recognize Senator Leahy for a point of personal privilege, and then we'll do our business while we still have a quorum here.
Thank you. And, Mr. Chairman, I applaud the distinguished senator from California. I've spent either 20 years back and forth as chairman or ranking member of this committee. I was very proud to turn over that position, Senator Feinstein. I think her comments just now demonstrate why. And I was also proud to be one of the members of the committee who stood up and publicly said that I believed the witness. I believed Anita Hill, and said so publicly at the time. And it influenced my vote. But we've had 352 members who served here, counting Senator Feinstein. Only 6 have been women. I sit on the Senate floor. I've enjoyed working with her on countless issues, ranging from national security to immigration reforms. She's broken down barriers throughout her career. This is just one more example. I'm just giving her a copy of what I said about her on the Senate floor.
thank you.
I did it with total pride and with a complete understanding. As I step off this thing, I could not leave it in better hands. So thank you.
We have 11 members present, a quorum. We're ready to turn to the authorizing resolution for the committee. I'd ask all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, say no. The ayes appear to have it and do have it, and the resolution's adopted. Now we'll consider adopting the subcommittees and the membership of those subcommittees. Those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed say no. The ayes appear to have it and do have it, and the resolution on subcommittees is adopted. I now turn to Senator Leahy for another point of personal privilege.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman and Ranking Member Feinstein. It's our first business meeting, the first business meeting this Congress. I want to recognize the remarkable service of my chief counsel, Christine Lucius, whom we all know. She's been with the Judiciary Committee for more than 14 years. When she became my chief counsel, we were debating 2 of the most complicated and contentious issues in recent years: gun violence and immigration policy. She took the reins of my committee staff with steadfast leadership and the commitment only a true Senate staffer can show. All those who have worked with her, regardless of party, have seen firsthand her intelligence, her drive, her effective advocacy. I've been here 42 years. I think what she did throughout that time was an example to everybody of what the finest, the absolute finest, can be in someone who works for the Senate. I've often said that senators are constitutional impediments to their staffs. Christine bears true to that. Her accomplishments are many. Her impact on this committee's activities can't be overstated. Her friendship is one I'm forever going to hold dear, both for her and her husband and her children. So to that end, Mr. Chairman, I ask the committee to consider the following committee resolution, which I'll read. Whereas Christine Lucius served as the Senate Committee on the Judiciary Committee Staff Director from 2013-2017, whereas Christine Lucius served as General Counsel and Deputy Staff Director from 2006-2013, whereas Christine Lucius obtained her Doctorate of Jurisprudence from Georgetown University Law Center, whereas Christine Lucius has been an invaluable source of guidance and strategy on legislative issues in the committee's handling of judicial and executive nominations, where she is vital to a successful effort to enact meaningful legislation, including the Matthew Shepard and James Byrd Jr. Hate Crimes Prevention Act, the USA Freedom Act, and the FOIA Improvement Act, whereas Christine Lucius was instrumental in the successful effort to reauthorize the Violence Against Women Act, the Trafficking Victims Protection Act, the Bulletproof Vest Partnership Grant Program, and the Justice for All Act, and whereas Christine Lucius has furthered efforts to protect citizens' right to vote through her work regarding the Voting Rights Act, has provided integral insight as the committee considered comprehensive immigration reform, was essential to the committee's consideration of 6 Supreme Court nominations. Now be it resolved, the United States Senate Committee on the Judiciary commends Christine Lucius for her years of dedicated service, leadership and service to the Committee on the Judiciary and to the United States Senate, and extends its deep appreciation to Christine Lucius for years of service.
You heard the resolution, and I'd like to say without objection, it would be adopted.
Okay.
I hear no objection. It's adopted. I'd like to speak just for a minute and echo what Senator Leahy has said about Christine. I want to thank you, Christine, for your hard work. We all know how that has worked out to have the committee function very diligently and get a lot of work out, because you work well with both Democrats and Republicans. All of us know that we wouldn't be able to get as much done around here without not only your hard work, but the hard work of a lot of your colleagues. So I thank you, Christine, for helping the committee be successful, and wish you well in your professional life. Senator Feinstein, you wanted to speak too on the point?
Very briefly, I've just become Senator Leahy's successor, and so have inherited some of the staff. And from my perspective, see how well Christine has done. She is smart, she's tough, she's a fighter, and she has run a very good operation, Senator Leahy and Senator Grassley. So I am also pleased, and I know my colleagues join with that, in saying, where is she? Christine, thank you for everything that you have done for this committee. It is very much appreciated.
Since there's no further...
We have a copy of the resolution if anybody wants to sign it. It's right here.
I'll sign it. Since there's no other business... Oh, you want to speak? Oh, yes, submit for the record. Senator Durbin. Anybody else as well? All business done. We will adjourn. I'll be glad to sign that too.
Here you go.
Thank you for the question, Senator Feinstein, and the QFR.
Yeah.
Here's a headline from The Hill. Democrats delay vote on Sessions nomination. They write, Senate Democrats are delaying a vote on Senator Jeff Sessions' nomination to be President Trump's Attorney General, arguing they want more time to review the pick.